Welcome back to the Transform You podcast with me, Paula.
And me, Neilia. Today we are going to be talking about breaking down to break through.
Yes, love it. So what we're basically going to cover here is if you're going through a bit of a shit time, or, you know, you feel like you've hit rock bottom, or even if you're just having like mini breakdowns.
Yeah.
How you get through that and how you build yourself back up, and just to give you a wee bit of like hope and inspiration, really.
Yeah, just a wee bit of motivation, just
Yeah.
to dig yourself out of those shit times.
Yeah.
Because we've been there.
We've all been there, and I feel like the reason we've gave it that title is honestly these tough times can become the best times.
They make you.
Yeah. When you're in the middle of it, maybe you don't feel like that.
You feel like it's the end.
Aye. But honestly, it's not. And we're giving you a wee bit of hope and inspo. Woo! So let's just begin with, tell me a wee bit about your breakdown moment.
Let's talk about the breakdowns. Let's break it down.
I mean, we're laughing now, but
my
you wouldn't have been
God.
laughing at the time.
I was certainly not laughing.
No.
Yeah, my God. I mean, it would take, we will get into it in future episodes. We'll properly get into it, but it's too deep for now.
Yeah.
We won't get too deep. But I think with me, I've been in toxic relationships with men. And I swing the other way.
Yes, and that makes complete sense.
And it makes all the sense. And I have had so many health problems where I've just hit rock bottom, and I've felt like the world is against me fully. I've been in hospital. I've been, just at a breaking point.
Yeah.
And I used to be a full-time athlete. I used to be a rower, and I had to retire from performance sport. And I thought that was my future, and I had to give it up.
I was going to give you a cheer for being an athlete.
But you can do it. Yeah. But I had to figure out that wasn't supposed to be my path. That was my path for a certain time.
That's tough.
And I had to refigure it out. And then I had to be in the space of, what am I doing with my life for quite a while, because I was still figuring out my health, and my health wasn't settled. And, it was a few years of me going, what am I doing?
Yeah.
I am so lost. And I felt broken, and I genuinely felt like, and I'm sorry if this sounds so deep, but I genuinely felt like I don't want to be here.
Yeah. I mean, I can relate. I've been there before myself, and it isn't a nice place to be. I think as soon as you ever have that thought of, what the fuck is the point in me being here, it's the worst place you're ever going to get to. It's the worst you're ever going to feel. And I think what you just described was a number of things that contributed over the number of years. And I suppose if you didn't have the tools back then to deal with that, it just then makes you hit rock bottom.
Yeah.
And then when you hit rock bottom like that, you have no choice but to actually say one day, fuck this. Like, I am never, ever going to feel like this again in my life. And I think you need that moment of, fuck this. I am never going to feel like this again. It's like, it's that way you're like, I am so fed up and I am so done with this. And that's where it begins.
Yeah.
And that's sort of what happened with me. I reached a point where I thought, fuck, my whole life is up in the air. I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. Like, my life has done a complete 360, we can call it, a U-turn. I don't know how to describe it. Basically, by the age of 24, I was engaged, I had a mortgage, I had a dog, I was with someone who I was with since I was 13, 14 years old. That typical, like, fucking romance that you see in Disney
you
movies.
had like the dream on paper, dream life.
Yeah, well, if you can see me, I'm doing air quotations, like dream life. That's what you get told as a dream life, and you kind of just settle. And I would have been quite happy to settle, and then obviously that relationship broke down and it was messy, which is a shame, because I think if you're with someone that long and you trust that person, you don't want it to be messy at the end. And then when it is, it makes you feel even worse. And I think then for me, it wasn't just losing that, it was everything that comes with it. It's building your life back up. It is being financially independent for the first time in your life. It is doing things alone for the first time in your life. Like, that is fucking scary. I had never been alone. I've come from a big family. I've always shared a bedroom with my sisters, you know, like that thing. Like, I've never been alone. So I was then forced to be alone. And at first it was fucking scary. Honestly, I was just like, I can't.
Yeah.
I remember like my pals being like, you'll be fine. You don't think you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
And honestly, see, when I had one of those days where everything's just, you know, going mad in your mind and you're just feeling terrible, you've kind of started to do the work because you're like questioning things and you're starting to maybe like read books, or you're maybe starting to take advice from people.
Yeah.
One day the penny just dropped. I had a light bulb go, oh my God, switch on. And it was eye opening. And I was like, never in my fucking life will I feel like this again. Never will I like give that part of me away again where I completely lose who I am. This is me actually going to figure out who I am and figure out like,
I love that,
what it is that I want to do. And that sounds so cheesy, being like, oh, I found myself, but I actually did, because the Paula who I was actually just a wee shadow somewhere. Like, I didn't know who I was. I suppose you don't if you've kind of never been pushed out your comfort zone like that, or you've never hit the rock bottom. So it can just be life changing for the better.
I look at old photos of me and I don't know her. I don't even recognise her.
How terrifying is that when you look at an old picture and you're like, who the hell is that?
She?
Who is she?
And I feel sad sometimes because I'm like, she was broken.
It is sad, and I know we are sitting here giggling, right? But when you're going through that, it is not good. It is the worst time of your life. Especially if it's something like figuring out what you want to do for a job. That can just be horrific. See that pressure that you feel.
And people are always asking you.
Oh, yes.
Like, you've had it as well. People constantly asking you what you're doing.
Yep.
And every time, I see this as also when, you know, you're in negative friendships as well. Because every time you go out with them and they're saying, so what
is it you're up to now?
What you're up to? Are you, like, what job have you? And you're just kind of like, gonna give me a break.
I'm trying to figure it out.
I don't fucking know.
It's like, I already feel bad enough about this.
Like, I fucking don't know. Just fucking shut up. Like, that's, you feel like just exploding because that's what's going on in your mind. But society says you can't.
And I think it's not just that, it's your pals and your family. You know, your mum and dad obviously want the best for you, and there's that extra pressure and you don't want to let people down, and then you're embarrassed. Like, I know for me, I dropped out of about 1 million uni courses, and I had, you know, I was really lucky to get myself into like some really fucking good courses, like really difficult to get into. But, and then people are like, that's amazing. How did you get into that? And then you get there and you're like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore.
I don't like it.
And it's about listening to that. And I don't know if back then that was the right decision. Was I just doing that because I was living in fear? Maybe. Like, I don't know. It doesn't matter now, because I think you can also spend a lot of time going, what if? And you just need to let go of that. See if you've made that decision. In that moment, it was the right decision for you. So getting all those wee mini breakdowns and then coming out the other end of them kind of like starts to build yourself back up.
Yeah.
And I suppose then, what is that process? How, if I was to say to you, like, I know what happened for me, but if I say to you, the gal who, you know, autoimmune disease, you were in hospital in a really bad way, you had to give up, you know, the sports part of your life, you then had to give up teaching, like, that's a lot. That is really a lot, and your head must have been like, fuck this. Like, how are you here?
I had to accept that I'm not a victim.
Yeah.
Which is a huge thing.
That's tough. Getting out of victim mentality is one of the hardest things that you'll ever do.
Huge thing. Because to a certain extent, for a period of time, you are. But in order to move forward with your life, you cannot stay in that mindset. You can't.
You can't.
Because if I stayed in that mindset when I was in hospital, when I was suffering, doing, you know, in my rock bottom, I would still be there.
You would. Like 1000%,
You know?
you would still be there. And I often think that to myself, like I had to make a choice. The choice was, this will ruin my life and I can just now go down a deep dark hole, or I can actually say, this is going to actually be the best thing that's ever happened to me.
Mate, I'd probably still be in a toxic relationship with a man. Like that.
Oh,
genuinely.
God, aye.
If I didn't make that decision.
Yeah, it's scary.
To go, hold on, this isn't right. I am not a victim here. I need to change my life because it is my life. And didn't you say something earlier about not giving them the power?
Yeah. So I think that's what it was for me. Like I'd given someone else so much power over me, and not just one person, maybe like lots of people in my life, you know, like because I cared too much about what people thought, or do you know what it was? I felt so shit about myself that I didn't believe in myself at all. I didn't believe that I would ever achieve anything. And maybe that was just like me chipping away at my self-esteem for years when I was dropping out of courses and then really being hard on myself, or thinking that I should have shit figured out, you know, all that kind of stuff that chips away at your self-esteem. But I cared too much about what other people thought, and I gave myself zero self-love, zero self-care. I was just like, a lot of my behaviours, I'd say, would have been very self-destructive.
Yeah.
And I would not know how to process emotions. I would have been really angry. So I suppose for me, I had a lot of mini breakdowns. And then after that big one, you know, like the rock bottom stage where I thought, fuck this, I need to change. The big thing that I started to do was get used to doing things myself. And that is terrifying. I think doing things yourself is really important. Even when you are in a good place, you need to start to appreciate being alone. And I think that's when you kind of find out who you are, and that's when you find out things that you like, and you find out actually what path you should be going down and not caring what anybody else is doing.
Well, that was how we met, because I started coming to events that you were running or that you were at.
Putting yourself out.
I went by myself.
Yep.
Because I knew that's what I had to do in order to grow, and also I knew that my old pals wouldn't have come with me, and that you have to grow by yourself. You have to.
Yeah.
You can rebrand it by calling it solo dates.
Aye, that's kind of romanticising it. Call it solo
rebrand
dates
it if you need
Aye.
to. But yeah, you have to be comfortable with your own company.
And I think when you're on, like, so if I was to say to someone, here are the points, like here is how you get through it. What I would say is just remember that it's not linear. There is always going to be ups and there's always going to be downs, and you're going to have months, even, you know, a period of time longer than that you're feeling really good, and then something from the past or something can happen and you can just find yourself back in that shit place again.
One person can say one tiny thing and it can just snap you back into this old person, and don't feel guilty about it.
No,
because it doesn't take much sometimes.
It doesn't, but what I found was
it is hard.
Yeah, it's the hardest thing you'll ever do, but like obviously the title of this, it could be the best thing.
Yeah.
And I think it's that shift of perspective as well, like actually saying to yourself, what if this turns out to be the best thing that's ever happened to me? What if actually from this I will go and do all these amazing things? What if from this I'll actually realise how strong I am? What if from this every other relationship in my life is going to be better? Like,
yes,
changing that perspective. And how do you change that perspective? I would say for me that would be getting myself out and walks, listening to podcasts like this, listening to audiobooks. There's so many books out there. Ones that I can think of off the top of my head for books would be The Mountain Is You, anything Tony Robbins. He's a bit cheesy sometimes, but knows what he's talking about. Mel Robbins. Like, I would literally just be so obsessed with this self-development thing. And I suppose that's why I laugh and call myself like the self-help queen now. But without all those resources, which are all out there, I don't really think I would have got through a lot of it, or else even got to this point. So I would say start like your own self-development journey, and that can look different for everyone.
Yeah.
And
think so.
self-development as well can be self-care. So taking care of yourself, making sure that you're not spending days sitting in the house alone, maybe organising to go out with your pals for coffee, reach out to people. If you are going through that, reach out to people, make sure that if, just say you've not got a supportive friend group, go and find people in different communities, or I don't know, how else can you link up with people?
I mean, social media is as bad a rep as it gets. It can be amazing to find people.
Do you know what? You're actually right. And that takes me back to when I was going through that, and how I started to build myself back up was starting to connect with others. And how did I do that? I actually started my own hill walking group, and it was solely for girls, because, and my why behind that at the time was, without my girls back then, I would not have got through what I got through. And I thought, I would then worry and be like, oh, fuck, what if someone else is going through this right now and they don't have people? And that was what spurred me to go, I'm going to do this. I'm going to start something, because I knew that me and my pals would go out a nice hill walk, wholesome day, and you would feel unreal after it. And I just thought, people need to know.
Other gals need
people
this.
need to know. And I suppose that maybe that's where my wee journey started. Really, that's actually a really nice thought. I totally forgot all about that.
Now you're reflecting on it.
Aye. And because I would never have done anything like that if people knew me from the past. Never in my life would I have done anything like that. I was even too scared to post a photo on Instagram. I was that person. I deleted my Instagram all the time because it just triggered me. I just couldn't
so did
deal with
I.
it. All the time.
How wild.
Yes, I was like too embarrassed. I would never get any pictures, nothing. And then
Same.
So for me then to go out and be like, I'm going to start something here, and not really expect anything from it, but that was really successful. And I met so many amazing people through that, and even now I still keep in touch with a lot of them.
Yeah.
And then from that we started doing the cold water dips, because I started going to a cold water group. And again, I first went with that with my pal Jen, and she kind of fell away from all that stuff, and I thought, I really want to go. And there was times I just had to go alone, and I was forced to go alone. And see that, being forced to actually just go alone, because I knew how good that made me feel. That for me, I started to be like, okay,
I can do this.
I can do hard shit. I can do hard things all alone. I don't need anybody. Like, that's genuinely what I started to feel like. I was like, I can take on the world. You
started believing in yourself.
100%. And it's all these wee things that add up. So with like the self-development and all that, all this stuff kind of started to come. What you'll find is it kind of becomes like a snowball effect. One wee thing leads to another, and it's kind of like that analogy of the wee caterpillar breaking free out of its shell and becoming a stunning butterfly. Like, genuinely, I think that's what happened. And it wasn't just for me, it was actually my other pals at that time as well, because they had maybe been going through their own things, but see, because we all had each other.
Yeah, I think you guys all you were all kind of going through something.
Heartbreak Hotel in some form.
Oh, you were.
In some form, we genuinely were.
You were all sort of going through something at the same time.
And I just think it's that building yourself back up through all these things. And then what I done, oh my God, I forgot all about this. Sitting, and it was Christmas, and so basically I was too scared to stay alone after that, right? I'd never lived alone, so I was too scared to stay in the flat myself. So I was like, I'm just going to go and stay at my mum and dad's for a while before like we sorted selling this flat and whatever. And I was like, right, okay. And that's when I started like reading my books, because I thought, this has worked for other people, I'm just going to try this. So in the past, by the way, I'd tried to read self-help books, and I just used to be like, what a lot of shite.
I know, that's what I know. You have to be in the right mindset.
And that's
it's really
it. That I knew at that point, I was like, oh, fuck, I need to try this.
Yeah.
Because in the past, I was just like, a lot of shit.
Sort of know when you're ready.
Oh, aye. You know. And the book that I picked up was The Secret. And a lot of people start with that, right?
Yeah.
So I remember picking it up, and I was like, okay, this book is telling me that I can change my life. So I'm just going to do it. And I remember I watched a wee film on Netflix. And then from that, I became so obsessed with all these books. I then bought all the books in the series. And the book, The Magic, have you ever read that before?
Yeah.
have you done the magic challenge? And it's like the 30 day of gratitude. Oh my God. See if you've never done this. I can't
Sorry, if
believe,
you're not watching, we're both
like, oh.
put our hands up at the screen.
Right. So for someone who is like, what a lot of shite, I done that, and oh my God, I would be sitting right. So every day I would get my journal out and I'd write my gratitude and I'd do everything.
The journal skeptic got her journal out.
I remember I bought my first wee journal. It's actually in there. I can go and get it. And it was a wee white journal and it had wee polka dots all over it. And that's where it all started, right?
Yeah.
And I would just be like, so at first I was just doing what this book told me to do. And then I got into the habit. So I remember every day sitting in my old bedroom from when I was a wee lassie, writing this wee journal, right? How nice. Nostalgia. But that was me finding myself, I suppose, right? Back in my wee childhood bedroom.
I think it's so
a full circle moment.
Meaningful that it was in your childhood bedroom.
Isn't it? It's really nice. And I'm just thinking, but
that
I
really
totally forgot about that.
I feel like that's so meaningful that it was in your childhood bedroom. That must have that really means something.
Isn't
I think
nice? I've never thought about wow, I love this.
See, this is why this podcast exists.
I know, because if we weren't doing this, would I have remembered that?
Oh.
So I'm sitting there, got my wee journal, and then obviously I got really, really hooked because I started to notice all these things happening.
Yeah.
I started to notice that I was like, oh, I've got a wee spring in my step today, and oh, I'm getting complimented, and oh my God, there's opportunities opening left, right and centre. Magic. So anybody that doesn't believe in manifesting and all that, please
try. Just try.
Coming from two skeptics.
I get it. You don't believe in it because we didn't. Mm-hmm. But just try.
Especially if you're at your breakdown stage.
Oh,
you may as well give it a try because anything.
Because nothing else is working.
That's it. And you just
because that's what we both were in that stage where nothing else was working.
Yeah.
Nothing else was working. So you're like, well, fuck it.
I may as well. So I was, do you know what? I was like, right, stay with my mum and dad. And then actually from that, I was like going to the cold water things and everything else, realising that I can do, I can do anything that I put my mind to, right? Then I just went like one day, I'm going back to my flat. That's my fucking flat. And that, for me, that was a big moment because I would never have done that. Like, I would have just always been like, yeah, do what you want. And I was like, that's my fucking flat. I'm going back there.
You took ownership back.
I put my foot down and I was like, goodbye.
That's mine.
And I remember, mate, oh my God, see the first few nights staying alone for the first time in my life. Terrifying.
Yeah.
And obviously I had Marley. Having a dog is obviously great, but I could not sleep.
Still hard though.
Oh, I had insomnia. I did not sleep for months, and I mean months.
Aye.
I think you get that when you're heartbroken anyway, right? But it's like getting into that new routine, new habits, and it's scary. So if you're going through
alone
that,
and it's like it's a whole it's tough.
So I actually got over that for like the last year, and then William was away there for a month and I went back to that place. So it just shows you these things. Like you then need to like work in it again. So even if you are doing all the work, you need to keep it up because it can
who knows.
Sorry, we're meant to be motivating you here.
Well, no, because it is motivating because that's us saying we haven't got it all figured out. Like it's hard.
We always
have to work on things.
Yeah.
We're always working on it. Even though, see, I think also people say with me with social media and stuff, they're like, oh, you've got it all figured out. Like you look like you're having the best time. And I'm like, I am. I love my life. I'm having the best time. But also, please don't think that every single day of my life I'm living my best life. That's why me and Paula try to keep our social media
authentic,
as real as possible. And we do. Like I put up videos of me crying. We put up videos of real fucking bodies because we don't have it all fixed. Like our lives are not perfect.
And then I think they never will be.
No,
so
they're not.
Like you can read every self-help book and you can do all these challenges. Like so, all
we love the wholesome vibes. We love the wholesome vibes. We love romanticizing our lives. We love going to coffee shops and having our wholesome, romantic, cutesy vibes. But mate.
There's some days where there's some days fuck this.
I wake up and I will just cry.
Yeah.
And it might be hormones, it might not, it might just be I feel like shit.
And I think that's the difference though between there's bad days and then there's breakdowns.
Yes.
So there's always going to be bad
Yes.
days. That doesn't mean that, oh shit, I've hit rock bottom because you've had
And
like
I think
one
that's
bad
important
day.
to say. Don't
Yeah.
think I'm waking up, shit, I'm having another breakdown.
And it's not.
What do I need to do to break through?
No, exactly, because
Yeah.
what actually happens is when you start to do all these wee things like get used to living alone, and you start to do all these wee things like trying new activities that you've never tried before, you then start to be like, okay, I can do this, and see all those wee bits of strength. You don't notice it, but they build up. They build up. So
Yeah.
like, I don't know the actual turning point for me. I just know that I kept up this routine of what I was doing. Like, I went back to the gym. I started yoga, meditation, doing my journaling, reading all the books. And I genuinely just really started to focus on myself. And that is the best thing that you can do for yourself. Whatever you're going through, really just bring it inwards. And I'd never in my life
100%.
done that. Never in my life had I went, I need to focus on me. Never. I'd been like, I'll support everyone else to do whatever the hell
Yes.
they're doing. But
No.
it's not about me, which is why I'm now you by Paula. But yeah, so I think start to focus on you. It'll be the best thing that you ever do. And I know people tell you that and you might be like, what the hell does that mean? Focus on you. It's all those things that we've just spoke about there.
Mm-hmm.
It is, doing the work. It's doing the self-care, giving yourself a break. If you need a sad day, an angry day, allow yourself to have it. Don't be like, oh no, I'm feeling sad, let's just block this out. Because I'll be honest, I did used to do that, and it doesn't get you anywhere. It actually just puts you backwards.
Yeah. Also, I think sometimes self-care is just thrown about as like, do a face mask, have a bath. And I bloody love a face mask and I love a hot bath.
Same, but
sometimes
it's not.
self-care can be just having a nap or just lying on the sofa and doing fuck all for a day. That is also self-care. If you just need to sit and not talk to anyone for a day because your social battery is dead,
that is my self-care.
that is self-care.
Yeah.
We're the same.
Even going for a walk, I think going, okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to take myself out for a 10-minute walk because I know it's going to make me feel better. That's
Yeah.
self-care.
I think sometimes self-care is just like put out as this thing that needs to be this like just
aesthetic vibes. And actually most of the time self-care is not aesthetic vibes. Most of the time self-care for me is sitting with no makeup on, my hair literally a riot. Like, you know that when you come out the bath and you've not even got the energy to dry your hair? For me that's self-care. I'm like, do you know what? Let it dry naturally. We'll deal with that later.
I never even get in my towel for like 2 hours sometimes because I don't have the energy.
Like self-care is actually not pretty.
It's not aesthetic.
And I feel like social media has made it aesthetic, you know, like TikTok and Instagram, and you're just like
self-care day.
The thing is, even when we're doing like cold water therapy and sauna sessions, you don't look cute.
No.
You might get cute pictures, but I mean, most of the time you actually don't look that cute. I mean, fair play to you if you do, but because I remember I went through that phase, right? You know that way when you start this journey, right, and you're starting to really feel yourself. So for the first time in my life, I was feeling good, right? I was like, I am fucking stunning. Nobody is going to stop me, and I felt amazing. Mate, I had the bikinis on, doing it lust. I had like the crochet bikinis, like,
oof.
Honestly, I felt great. And I had people around me that picked me up and was like, you're amazing. And it was just fantastic. By the way, just because you look a certain way doesn't actually make you happy, right? But I was actually genuinely feeling good. Where was I going with that?
Feeling good about your body.
What were we talking about before that?
Self-care, aesthetic.
Oh, yes. So I did go through that wee phase of being like, right, I need to get the perfect picture here, right?
Oh, yeah.
But then I felt like that started to kind of ruin the vibe. So see, when I started to be like, I'm going for the aesthetic, the vibes were ruined. And fair enough, like, it's nice to put up those pictures and get that validation that you're needing, right? Because see, when you feel awful, you will take validation when you get it. If somebody's giving you a compliment, you're taking that compliment, right?
Oh, yeah.
And you will do anything to find those compliments.
I know.
But I remember doing that, but I felt like then I started to be not myself.
That's
Does
so
that make
interesting.
sense?
Yeah, I know, because then when you're posting, you're then checking to see who's liking it.
And that's the validation from others. Yep.
Who's commenting.
So
How
that's
quick
what I
people
mean
are
by,
liking.
yeah.
It's like toxic. It's not good.
It's
It's not
excessive.
healthy.
That's what I was going to say about, that's earlier what we said about it not being linear. It's like ups and downs. So I had periods where, you know, I'd be up like this and I was just doing my own thing, feeling great. And then obviously it didn't look like a low to some people because it looked like I was out there living my best life, doing Lust Beach with bikinis on. Fair enough, I was feeling good about myself. I liked how I looked, but then you get the toxic side that comes with that. And then I had to like pick myself back up and be like, you are more than your body. That's when I learned that.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a whole other process that I went through. And I remember I read this book, Marissa Peer, You Are Enough. Is that the book? Maybe that's the book. I'll let you know if it is.
It sounds familiar to me.
And basically that book just says something along the lines of, you come into this world naked and alone, and you come into this world just full of love and you're enough. It's society, it's other people, it's shitty situations, it is someone else's opinion gets put onto you, and then you start to feel all that stuff. Like you start to feel self-conscious, you start to think that you're not enough, you start to think I'm not worthy because X, Y and Z.
Gonna agree.
I read that book, mate, and I was like, oh my God. And I needed that at that point, because that's when I went, okay. And do you know what I done? I booked a solo holiday. I remember it. And
yes.
I done a
Fucking love
solo
it.
holiday. New lassies, for the person 6 months before that who had never lived alone, who had been with someone for all that time, had lived with our family, blah, blah, blah. 6 months of just this hard work, genuinely focusing on myself. I wasn't talking to any men. You know, I had no interest in dating. I was just interested in, I want to become who I want to become. I fucking booked that solo holiday, and that was the most empowering thing that I'd ever done.
Where'd you go?
I went to Fuerteventura.
Oh, stunning.
It was
That's so good.
unreal. And I'll just tell you, it was so scary because it was COVID time. And you know that way, like you needed to have all your vaccines and all that.
Yeah.
And I kind of patched the whole vaccine thing after my second one. I was like, oh, fuck this, I can't be arsed.
Yeah.
And you needed this travel pass, and I didn't have it. So actually I used my sister's.
Fuck it.
So they were only doing random checks, right? Who gets checked?
Fuck it. Of course you do.
Me, right?
Just
So
your
I'm
luck.
on my first solo holiday. I then get pulled to the side, me and this other woman. I shit you not, we go, they randomly COVID test us. The woman comes to me and says, can I speak to you? You've tested positive for COVID. Now I'm sitting there alone in this fucking foreign country I've never been to before. And I was like, no fucking way. And because I was in my wee spiritual world at that point, I was genuinely like, this is a sign for the universe. Like, maybe this isn't meant to be. And I started to be like, oh no, maybe I'm not supposed to be here. And then actually I was like, no, you are. It's fine. It's all going to work out. Just chill out, right? So I remember I texted my mum, and my mum was panicking. She was like, fuck. Panic. I was like, it's fine. I was like, it'll be fine. I'll sort it. You know, I'm doing this myself. Leave me to deal with it. Mate, 10 minutes later, the woman comes out and says to me, I'm so sorry. That wasn't yours. That lady's there. She was like, you're free to go. And I was like, oh, no fucking way. You could not make that shit up. So that was me, hop, skipping and jumping out of there.
And away you went.
I missed my bus and all that I had booked. Didn't matter. So I
Who
had
cares?
all these obstacles flung at me.
But you just had to keep...
So
after that, you had to keep finding new...
Before
had
I
more
would
challenges.
have panicked, broke down, cried, phoned my dad. Like, do you know what I would have been like, oh no, what am I up to? But I was just like, it's sound. And I made it there. I remember like being on that bus myself when it finally, the next one showed up. Going to my wee hotel, check myself in, and I had the nicest few days just alone. Every day I just put in like a podcast and an audiobook, went the longest walks along the beaches myself, and treated myself to nice wee dinners, and
amazing,
unreal.
I love it.
And I just think That's something that most people should experience. If you feel like you've really, really picked yourself out of a dark hole, go and do that, because then that is just evidence that you can do anything by yourself. You don't need anybody.
Rewarding yourself.
Honestly, the mental strength from that, I fucking love it.
That's amazing.
Genuinely.
That's so good.
Is that? Oh, wee Paula. Proud of it. Wee lassie.
Proud of wee
back
Paula.
then. I know,
Wee
how
Polly.
nice is that? And I just like that. I think then this is when it ties into the whole, it can actually be the best thing that ever happens to you, because I am not going to lie, the last few years of my life have been the best so far. I used to think that my life was great and I had everything figured out. Oh my God. I did not figure out who I was until I was 28. I didn't figure out what I wanted to do until I was 30. Even that, I still don't even know what I want to do, really. I've tried new things, like I've changed so many times, but I'm all right with that now. Like, so other things that happened to me during that time, where one of the breakdowns that I had was money. And I think we've all been there with money, right? There's also another really good book about that. It's one of the Secret Collection.
Oh, I don't know that one.
Can't remember. Right. Maybe it was The Magic, actually. Maybe there's a segment in The Magic about money. Basically, there's this, and there's this part of The Secret as well, that you write yourself a magic check of whatever X amount, right? Mm-hmm. So I remember doing all that and just trying to get myself into a better place, because I was really worrying about money and being like, how can I afford a mortgage of my own with really shitty wages? Because I was in really shitty wages. I'd say maybe after bills I would have had not that much to play with, but I was still like, okay, I can't let that affect my life. I need to just do what I'm doing still and believe that things are going to get better. So for me, then an opportunity came to be promoted in my work to a senior position, and I had no intentions of ever doing that. Genuinely back then I was like, I just need extra money and I just need to prove myself that I can do this. Done it, got the job. So then again you're like, oh, another wee bit of evidence that you can do it.
I can do things.
So I got that. I ended up getting the extra income, and then more evidence that you can stand your own 2 feet. And again, that just kept happening. All these things kept happening, like getting promotions and then getting yourself to a place where you're like, oh my God, I can stand on my own 2 feet. I don't need anybody. Ugh. And I think that's why now I've just got myself to this place where, you know, I've done all that and I've just decided that it's better to go with happiness. So money...
Oh, isn't it?
Oh...
I think we've both had that journey of why are we pushing and pursuing this like financial, because see, when I met you I was just like, oh, I'm just gonna get a job in an office. Wasn't I was like, I'm gonna get a job in an office, and now look at me.
You're like, you've never worked in an office before. Why would you want to do it now?
That sounds like my idea of hell.
You, especially someone who's been like sporty and stuff before, like thought of actually going and sit in an office. Like for some people though, that they love that.
They love that. Good for you. But that is my idea of hell.
You're like, no thanks.
Yeah, we are doing what makes us happy.
Yeah,
and
that all came from breakdowns.
Yeah, pretty much.
I think that's hopefully a wee bit of hope for anyone that's listening. I don't really know. We didn't want to get into this too deep, so I don't really know what else we should add to that. Or
I think one thing to add would be, it's hard to, when you're going through it, it's hard to imagine being grateful for your breakdowns.
Totally.
But I am so grateful for all the shit that I've been through.
Me too.
And it's, if you're going through it right now, you're probably sitting there going, no, I'm not going to be grateful for all this shite. Like I feel shit. I'm going through the worst time of my life, you know, and we were feeling like that, you know, when we were going through it, we were like, this is the worst time of my entire life. I want rid of it. You never want to think about it again.
I know.
However, we reflect on it now, and that is what's made us who we are today. If we didn't go through that, we probably wouldn't be where we're sat now.
No, not.
You know,
I would definitely not. Like, I don't know what the hell I'd be doing. I would not be doing any of this stuff if I didn't have that point in my life. And like you say, I'm grateful that happened. And in order to get to that grateful place, is you just really need to be all right with yourself.
Yeah.
Like, and that is a lot of work. And do you know what? It does take a lot of work. And what I will say is, it's exhausting at times. And there's been times I've thought, oh God, like, when does this end? But it doesn't end. Like, you do need to keep doing that work. And what I will say is as well, those negative thoughts don't leave. They're still there. But what actually happens is your wee strong voice, like whatever you want to call it, becomes bigger than that.
Becomes louder.
It does. And that's the one. So for example, like I get this all the time still. Like I think because most of my life I had like really, really shit body confidence. I still get that. Like I'll still look at myself and be like, you look disgusting, right?
Same.
And that's the first, and I actually then immediately can challenge that and be like, shut up. I think that's a massive place to get to actually be able to challenge that. But what I will say is, honestly, it's still always there. It's just like you say, all the work you've done overrides it.
Yeah, I think you just have to keep working on it, and that comes from always working on yourself, being present within yourself, and constantly practicing gratitude. It's so powerful.
Yeah.
And people within the wellness world will always go on about it.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes people can be quite woo-woo about it.
Yes.
However, we are normal lassies. Normal.
Normal, yes.
Normal as it gets. We are normal lassies, and we're telling you it works. We used to be skeptics, and we are saying, oh my God, it works.
It does. And genuinely, we need to do a full gratitude episode, because if I start talking about it just now, I will be here till tomorrow.
We'll be here till it gets midnight.
And honestly, people think it's just a word, gratitude, but it's not. It's a feeling. It's
oh, you're right. It's not
so
just
much
a word.
more
It's
than
a
that.
full. We need to do an episode. No, let's not get into it. Just practice gratitude. Everyone will get an episode out at some point.
Yeah, like even start to read the books that we've mentioned.
Yeah,
stuff like that can really help. Gratitude is actually where you get to a state of gratitude, and I'm so glad that all that shit happened. I'm so glad that I dropped out all those courses. I'm so glad that I went through those tough times. I'm so glad that I'm now here, and I've got better people in my life, and I've got better shit going on in my life, and I have found who I am, and I'll just continue all this work, and who knows where we're going to end up, because I swear to God, if someone said to me this time even last year, I'd be sitting here.
I know.
Never in a million years. And I think maybe part of that comes with like turning 30 as well. Who knows?
Oh, I know. But yeah, just practice gratitude, gals. It's so good. Yeah. I'm so grateful. This will probably sound crazy to people. I'm grateful for my toxic relationships. I'm grateful for my health issues. Like, I'm grateful for being dropped from my athletic career. Like, I'm grateful for it.
Yeah.
Because it's led me to this point right now.
Yes.
And I know for a fact that this is where I'm supposed to be. This is my path.
You feel good about it.
I feel good. This feels so right.
Yeah.
And me and Paula talk about it all the time.
Such a nice place to be.
Yeah, it just feels so right. But both of us, where we are at in our lives, that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing.
And actually, I know that's a really nice positive thing to say, but it doesn't mean to say that it might come back down again. Yeah. Because that's 100%. Happened to me a few times. So as much as I'm like, I became that person who went on solo trips, and I became that person who was like, fuck it, I'm putting myself out there. I've also kind of like went back a wee bit as well. Like, so sometimes it's 2 steps back before you take another one forward. So once I then got myself into a new relationship, for me, that was a big struggle. Like, especially at the start, because I was not ready. But I'd met obviously somebody who I thought, oh, what an angel. Yeah. And that was really, really hard for me. And it's allowing somebody back in your life. And what I will say is a wee word of wisdom, since we've actually not done one, but here we go.
Oh! Which one? There she is.
A wee word of wisdom would be, if someone's ever broken your trust, right? Trust is something that you should always give to everyone, right? So I know that can be hard, but think it like this, like you give someone all your trust and then they can take it away. That's it, right? So give them all your trust until they're the ones that then take it away. And see, once it's gone, right, it's gone. Remember that when trust is gone, it is gone.
They don't get it back.
You don't. And you can try to build that back up. You can try different things, but you'll end up holding on to resentment. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't give that trust to someone else.
That's so good. I love that one.
And I think if you've ever been in a situation, and I had to learn that because...
That's hard though.
Oh, it is.
When
and
you've been through the trauma of we've both been through that, but you can't go through life with
it's
withholding.
Always trust people, like
that,
until you can't, because you know you got all this toxic stuff online, like don't trust anyone apart from yourself and blah blah blah. No, like trust people.
Yeah, you can't be like
most people are good. Like, and some people say to me like, "Oh, you're fucking nuts! Like, how can you be like that?" And I'm like, holding on to resentment actually just damages you.
Yeah,
the only person that's going to get hurt if you're holding on to shit is you. You're just hurting yourself, because see, really, the other person doesn't care. They don't care. So why are you letting them have power over you?
Oh, she's on one today.
She's on one.
She's a wise woman.
Oh, thanks, Hen. By the way, this calls for a self-love affirmation. What have you got for us today?
Do you know what, gal? I've got my wee poem book. So I think I might do a wee poem.
You've not. Oh, we're in for a treat.
You're in for a treat.
Oh,
lassies.
let me get a wee sip of my tea.
Aye, settle in. So this is my wee, if you're watching, my wee poem book. So this one, it's like story time. I love it.
Is this handpicked for this episode?
Yes. Because I knew we were talking about breaking through. So I was like, we'll pick this one called Overcome.
By Transform. I did say in the last episode, you're a poet. Give us it. Let's hear it.
You have endured the most difficult of seasons and overcome obstacles that once felt impossible. You have been pushed to absolute limits and you... Oh, fuck.
I thought that was going so well. Start again.
Start
Rewind.
again. Right. Why do I do this? I never fuck it up.
The pressure was on.
I know it was. You have endured the most difficult of seasons and overcome obstacles that once felt impossible. You have been pushed to your absolute limits and you... Why do I keep fucking it up?
Is it that bit there?
Yeah. Hold on.
Hold on.
And yet you emerged. Right.
Okay.
And yet you emerged.
Take 3.
Right. For the 5th time. You have endured the most difficult of seasons and overcome obstacles that once felt impossible. You've been pushed to your absolute limits and yet you emerged, finding a way forward each time. You are stronger than you think you are, and you've carried yourself through each storm. You are resilient, you are strong, you are unbreakable.
Oh my God.
Overcome.
That is stunning. Great.
Break through, lassies. Overcome.
Honestly, that was so lovely. Do you just write stuff like that when you've got something emotional
when everything's
going on?
come through? And see, like on Instagram, there's loads of like things, and sometimes I'll just get really inspired by different things people write, and then later on, that'll come back into my head, and then I'll just... So I carry this with me in my handbag wherever I go.
That's so nice.
And in my car. So whenever I get inspired, I'll just...
I
I'll write
suppose
it down.
that's part of your healing journey then? Like,
you've
started doing stuff like that?
And then loads of my, like, if you ever come to one of my classes in Shavasana and meditations, I will always try and read out a wee poem in my meditations.
So someone might have needed that today. I know in the past I might have needed that. Mm-hmm. And that was lovely. Oh. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
Because also that's your wee personal diary. So thank you for that. And I'm sure everyone will feel grateful for that.
Yeah. Oh.
How
Thanks, Lassie.
lovely. So let's just wrap this up, because we did say we don't want to get too deep, and I don't know if we have got too deep. I don't really know.
No one else. We've probably got a wee bit deep, but
which I suppose is
What we like.
necessary, right? But just as a summary of what we spoke about, if you're going through your breakdown just now, just know that things will always get better. And take this from me, from someone who spent our whole life in a shadow, like, I don't know what was going on. Someone who had zero self-confidence, someone who had literally the most horrible negative thoughts that you can ever have about yourself, someone who was told that she was depressed and given antidepressants, right? If I can get here, so can you. And you'll be the exact same. Like, all that shit you've been through, if you can get through that and you can recall how you felt, other people can get through it.
100%.
Yeah.
Our old selves are unrecognisable.
Oh, aye.
We are
Totally different.
Transformed.
Yeah.
So can you, lassies.
I think when I'm talking about stuff like this, I always try and be aware of that person who's going through it just now.
Yeah.
And I try and put myself back to how I was feeling. And I really hope that it doesn't come across like everything's just going to be all right. And I hope we've made it realistic.
It is hard because
I want it to be realistic so that people can actually go, right, that's exactly how I'm feeling, right? This is exactly what they've done. Again, back to that podcast we just done there about using role models, like using people who have been through it. And you know what's actually lovely? See, just now, or even in the last like couple of years, I've had so many people ask me, like, how did you get here? Like, going to give me some advice. And I just think that's so nice. And I never thought I'd be able to give anyone advice on fucking anything. Never mind like changing your life. Do you know that way? Yeah. So I really hope that there's something valuable there. And what I usually say to people who ask me for that advice is focus on yourself is the biggest thing, and surround yourself with people who lift you up. Really, really do the deep inner work. That is hard. And I always make it clear.
Easy.
It's not easy.
It's not easy.
And I just want to make that clear to people. It's not an easy journey, and it's hard, and there's going to be terrible times even within that, and there's going to be ups and downs. And even when you do come through the other end, like we just spoke about there's still going to be negative thoughts that come up, but you're stronger than them, and you're honestly stronger than every single thing. See, when you realise the strength that you've got within you, and we've all got it.
Oh,
we all have it.
How good is it when you finally realise, fuck me, I am fucking strong, and I can take on the world.
Oh my.
It's like, what the hell? It's so good.
It's been there all along though. But
it's been there the whole time, and you've just had to unlock it. You've just had to unlock it. So lassies, if you are listening to this going, no, like I can't, just know it is in there. It is in there, and it's so hard to do the work, but you can do it.
Oh,
you can do it.
You got this.
Because we are proof that you can. We were broken. We wanted to give up, and you just have to push through. And bringing back to, you've had people message you asking you how you've done it. Please know, like we said in our previous episodes, our DMs are always open. We're always here to chat. If you feel like you haven't got pals that you can talk to, if you haven't got family that you can talk to about this stuff, we are always here to give advice. We love to talk about this stuff. We are here to, obviously we're not qualified.
We're not therapists, and we're not
therapists and stuff.
Psychologists,
but we've been through the shit.
I think what we are is people who have learned from their own experiences
and our own mistakes, and we're just normal lassies.
And I just think that's the best sort of people to take advice from, though, because it's like real life. You can understand that it's not always going to be easy, and you can also think, well, what if you've not got X, Y, and Z? What if you're not in a place of privilege to actually, access all these things?
Exactly.
And I think that's what I was just trying to humanise it a wee bit. Like, you can read all this in self-help books and all that, but actually hearing it for someone who's been through it is the most inspiring thing. And I remember always listening to a girl called Sinead who does a podcast, and she had basically said the same thing. Like, she was so heartbroken, she thought her life was over, and then I was so inspired by her wee story. And we'll all have someone like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, like, get yourself to events. Like, we both host events. If you don't really connect with us, there's so many people out there that do loads. Like, find people who you're like, I love that, and just go for it.
And go for it.
Meet new people, like, do it for you. I just feel like quite emotional now because I'm going.
I know, I can see us both just
like, we're just like that now.
Getting in that space.
Because I'm just thinking, if someone is like that just now, honest to God,
I can see us both reflecting,
going really inwards
on our past selves.
Yeah.
And if my past self was listening to us right now,
what would you want to say?
It would be hard.
It would.
It would be really hard.
I feel like there's a million episodes you can do just from this, because all the things we're talking about actually tie into this.
Yeah.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
So there's obviously more to come. So please stay
God,
tuned.
we're getting emotional.
For the rest of it. Like,
oh God.
Oh my God. We've got stuff planned though that ties into this, and yeah. I think we should wrap
it up before we start grieving.
And honestly, just to end it lighthearted, like
we'll lift it back up, lassies.
See, really, you've got the strength when you are trying to film a fucking podcast and the internet keeps cutting you off. The past version of me would have said, fling that out the window, I'm not doing it anymore. And the past version of you would have just like cried and been like, it's over, my life's over. Like, so
honestly, I was ready to.
That's
my
how
past
we know
version of me
we are
would have been why, but we persisted.
Yes,
we persisted. We kept going, lassies.
So thank you if you're still here hanging about, because it took a lot for us to get here.
We appreciate you. We really do.
We really do. And if you are going through anything tough, just always know that it's okay to ask for help. And it's okay if you are someone who is going through something and you do need a wee bit extra support, whether that's in the form of your doctor giving you something to help, whether that's going to a therapist, a counsellor, do it.
Yeah.
There's no shame in it. And there's so many free resources out there.
Yeah.
And people like us who'll give you advice.
Oh, always.
Even if it's unwanted, we'll give you it.
Aye. Sorry.
So thank you ever so much. Again, we love you.
We love you. Always.
Thank you. Speak to you soon. Let's do an outro.